welcome again. Just a very, very short few words. So this is really a work between Martin and I noticed you're just talking to me, but I promise he doesn't bite, and he speaks English, and you can ask him questions. He can answer in German and Spanish too. He's probably more the technical guy. And in our last talk, only with the Agavaceae, he didn't hike up there, and in this one, there's one species he didn't go up there either, but other than that, he was on all the trips. And another thing is we're doing this that I'm talking because, as you have noticed, it's only 3 women here that gave talks, so we think that more women should be, giving talks. Okay, sorry for straying from the title, because this is a cactus, obviously. And it will probably be called Sclerocactus hauckscheri. It's in description right now, and I don't have a pointer, but the plant is in this picture. It's kind of like in the front center, right there. It's like the background. This is a new species from the Sierra Mojada, from the western side of those mountains in the state of Coahuila, and this is the background is the habitat of this. In 1994, Horst Haug and Egon Scherer with Wolfgang Methorn, who's here in the audience, and another guy, Michael Bechtold, they went on a trip with a VW bus, and they were camping out there, and that's where those 2 first guys, Haug and Scherer, they found this interesting cactus, which usually grows on a little stem. There have been several trips going back to the locality, not by the original people, but in 2023, Wolfgang Methorn went back again with, before he went back with Egon Scherer, but this guy unfortunately died. So Wolfgang Methorn went back, and they did find the species again, not at the original place, but in another one. And then they told us, and we went in April of 24, just after the solar eclipse. And then we went again just last November with some of the original people. And this year, the species flowered in our greenhouse. So we're in the process of describing this with Jerónimo Reyes at the UNAM in Mexico City. So here you have from left is Martin, then Wolfgang Methorn, he's here, hi. Then this Daniel Beck, he's a German cactus aficionado. Then it's me, and Michael Bechtold was on that original 94 group too. And we're camping out there and having steaks and all from the campfire. This is the only cactus in this whole talk. It's kind of sort of going from north to south. This is in these canyons in the Huasteca. You would find Pachyphytum huastecanum. And again, that was the same people, Wolfgang Methorn with Michael Bechtold. And Michael, the 2 of them, they wanted to go see Agave albopalosa, which you have in this picture. That was in 2016, and they just kept following this little path, going up and up and up and further up. And then Michael, he needed to take a break and take a leak. That he was just standing there. Well, that's really a good opportunity to look at plants. And so we did see this Pachyphytum in 2016. And they told us where to go. We went there too, and it was finally published in 2020. It's similar to Pachyphytum hookeri. Here you have the plant with the flower stalk. It's similar to Pachyphytum hookeri, and together with Verdemanniae, it's the northernmost species described so far. It grows in oak and juniper forest with several other Crassulaceae species. And if you come all the way, kind of to the top where the path stops, you'd come across this agave, which everybody called affinity ovatifolia, but Brian Campbell and Greg Starr, they just told me that will be probably have a new name. I think seed is sold under the name Azul Monterrey, so you would have another new species. And by the way, talking about Pachyphytum, in the last Mexican journal, there was a new one published just last month, Meyeraniae, and this has yellow flowers, and it comes from the Sierra Gorda, so we have to go back there. Still in the north, in San Luis Potosí, another one of those famous pueblos mágicos in Mexico. That's Real de Catorce. It's a very old mining town. And you can see these crumbly walls that you find in this little town. And of course, you can also find the plant outside in the rocks, in the cliffs. That would be Echeveria 14. Jerónimo Reyes, again, he's describing this right now. Charlie Glass mentioned this in 1991. So this plant has been around and in cultivation for a very long time, but nobody ever got along and described it. It's a small plant. It's a really attractive little rosette, high altitude, and has a very compact, very bright flower. I remember the other thing I wanted to say when Kelly asked, would it be okay to just have a half an hour talk? We thought, well, that's great, that's less work. But then we started doing this, and it turns out it's much more work, and it's really bad because you want to show so many things and you don't have time. And now I lost like a minute or two again. So there we go. That's the same plant we showed yesterday, Agave muxii. And these are those Nolino parvifloras with those tutus around their trunks. I didn't take, well, my guide was really bad at taking pictures. He was completely hopeless. So I don't have the size comparison. So here's that muxii plant published in 2020, and we went 2 years ago. It's only occurring on those highest peaks in Querétaro and adjacent San Luis Potosí. And that's the photo with the inflorescence with those, very unusual red, dark purple flowers and those backward bracts. It's something else. So that was a very nice adventure and all, but running down that mountain, I slipped on the pine needles, and that was the downside of it. I broke my wrist up there and still had to hike like half an hour, and then we had to drive down 3,000 feet in the truck, and I was there with this hand, and it's still crooked. They didn't do a good job, but it was all worth it. So here we have Echeveria kristenii, named for my beloved husband. I don't have a pointer, but this is in early June, like end of the dry season, so everything's really dry. You have plants on the probably like on the left lower side. On this hillside, they grow with Agave shidigera and Agave durangensis, and there's a hybrid between those two agaves up there too. And that's after the rainy season. They don't get that much rain as we do in Jalisco, but you have on the left lower corner, you have a flowering plant. In the center is kind of a flowering plant. We discovered this species in 2012 in the municipality of Mezquital, which is in the state of Durango, and Jerónimo Reyes published it in 2021. So here are two plants. It's in series Gibiflora and related to Dactylifera and Novogaliciana, but these plants are much smaller and the color is different, and there's other differences that I can't go into in that short time. And here's the flower, very large flower stalk, very large showy flowers. Now we're in the Sierra Manantlan. You are in the state of Jalisco, looking out to Colima, and in the distance would be the Pacific Ocean. It's a very beautiful habitat up there. Cloud forests, really difficult to go there because you need all the permits and all the gates are locked, and so it's difficult. Just last year, they described 2 Echeveria species from up there. That's Agavaceae. It's confined to, it's a biosphere reserve too. It's confined to pine forests above 8,900 feet. And it's compared to Multicaulis and Flammigera, which was earlier Pringleii variety parva. The species was named for Dr. Ramon Cuevas Guzman. He is at that university in Outlan, and he published many books about the Sierra Manantlan and also more than a dozen species of different plants from up there. And we're still up there. That's Agave manantlanicola. That was described like more years ago. It's still a very attractive plant, but in the same 2024 publication, This Echeveria was named Agavaceae. This grows above 7,000 feet. It's compared to Mariana and Novogaliciana and named for Antonio Vázquez Garcia. And now I make a citation. He is mentioned as being one of the specialists in Mexico in the Agave genus and the Crassulaceae family, describing many new species and also new genera. So in Jalisco, I looked it up because he's in Guadalajara. He's a good friend. He's a dear friend. There are only 6 magnolia species in Jalisco, and his field are magnolias. So I guess he needed to find a new, to like venture into new areas. So we got into Crassulaceae and Agavaceae. And he made new genera in Echeveria, like Chasaroa, Geronimoa, and then in Graptopetalum, he created Quetzalcoatl. I mean, who can pronounce that? And then in the agaves, now we have Echino agave, Paleo agave, and Para agave. If you want to know more about that, you really have to Google it and look it up because time is not enough to do this. So he's also responsible for 4 new Agave Shidigera type species. And he's responsible for 2 new Agave pedunculifera species. 2 of them grow like about 20 miles from each other. And he published some of the things in Nacare, which is the journal of the University of Guadalajara. This is probably also not the best place to publish new genera and new species. And I just hope, Guillermo, that he never gets down to Argentina. So still up in that Sierra Manantlan, you have many species of orchids. This is Mormodis luxatum. And as I said, this is a cloud forest. It's a beautiful, beautiful habitat. And another sedum, I was had some complaints about the sedums from yesterday, but this is just one. It's not an attractive one. It's Sedum dormiens. It was published in 2022, only occurring in the highest parts of the Sierra Manantlan. It's a chamophyte. I had to look that up too. These are subshrubs or dwarf shrubs, plants that bear hibernating buds on persistent shoots near the ground. So this is this. It has a white flower compared to the ones that are closest to it. They have yellow flowers. Now we're still in the state of Jalisco. This is south of Puerto Vallarta. There are really beautiful little beaches there. You can hike along those beaches. You can also take those little boats. They ferry you to all these beaches, which makes the hike less enjoyable because of all the noise. And that's about in the center of the picture. You see those 2 people standing right at the beach. Just above them, we did find those first Echeverias, and this will be named in the future Maritima for obvious reasons. I hope you see those at least 2 big plants. We went there last December, I think, or November, and unfortunately they just started their flower stalk, so we have to go back. So this is really amazing because Echeverias usually grow above 4,500 feet altitude, something like that. They really, I think that's one of the only species growing like that low, just above the sea level. In the Tierra Caliente in Michoacán, this is a picture of the dry season for Agave infiernilloensis. It grows, in many cliffs, and that would be the same from the same bridge in the rainy season. It grows in a Sicuiran Infiernillo Biosphere Reserve. We first went there in 2013 and then made many trips back. It was finally described in 2022 together with Santiago Rosales and this Antonia Vázquez Garcia. It's not a very interesting plant to horticulturists because it tolerates insane heat, but it really doesn't like the cold. Just a bit of the history. The plant was first mentioned by Bernd Ulrich in 1987. He was a German agave enthusiast, and he mentioned it as Agave pedunculifera, and then by Charlie Glass in 93, in 96 by Jeff Chemnick, and in 99 Kelly Griffin, Brian Campbell, and Arturo Anaya, they went to the habitat. They wanted to see this beautiful Hechtia glauca, and they took a little boat and went down the river and then climbed up, and they did find the agave, and then Arturo published an article later, and he also said it's pedunculifera, which Kelly, of course, was not really happy with. And Kelly and Jeff and many people, they insisted you really have to name it. So we finally got around to it, and then of course we needed the flowers and all, and this guy paddled us there in this tiny little boat out to this plant. I was like, shaking around like this, trying to cut off this whole inflorescence and get all the flowers, but obviously we made it. And so we got a new name, and just not to show you just these new plants, you can also see Bachybergia militaris, which is now probably, I think, Mitrocereus militaris. Always difficult because they grow like in the forest. And there's also Ferrocactus lindsay growing in that general area. Come on. Echeveria sotoi was published last year from the coast of Michoacan. This is a roadside cut that is just really covered with those plants. It's a spectacular habitat. The plants grow at between 1150 and 1650 feet altitude. In the background, you can see the Pacific Ocean. There's Agave kristenii growing there. There's the columnar cactus would be Cephalocereus nudus. There's great bursaras. There's Hechtia michoacana. It's just all kinds of things. Fabulous limestone outcrops in these Pacific lowlands. So this is a closer up of the plant. It's compared, or it's related to Echeveria gibiflora, but this has thinner leaves and more differences, and this grows in those Pacific lowlands, and the other species, they grow in pine oak forests. And here to the left is Agave kristenii, and again that Echeveria sotoi with the Hechtia michoacana. And this is a habitat a bit further inland that Charlie Glass already published in his unpublished logbook. He mentions it in 1993. This is during the dry season, and this is what it looks like in the rainy season. So we already had people saying, well, but this plant on your website, that can't be this plant. Well, if you look at the plants in your glass house or in your greenhouse, they look much nicer than the plants in the dry season in habitat. And so we were looking at Google Earth after visiting this Echeveria sotoi site, and we were looking for more like similar habitats that we could find more localities, and we came up with this, and then we went up there. Poinsettia grows there. This Luteridium rusdowskianum, which we had never heard of, very beautiful flowers. It's a little shrub. We didn't find Echeveria sotoi, but we did find Thompsonella pacifica. This is the plant here. For obvious reasons, it will be named Pacifica. We're in the process of describing this with Jeronimo Reyes again. This is really close to the Pacific Ocean again. This is the plant in the dry season, and that's what they look like in the rainy season. So in the dry season, they're like probably 2 inches, and in the rainy season they're really big happy plants. It grows only about 3 miles away as the crow flies from the Pacific Ocean. And then just now in March we went back along the coast, and for a day ventured inland to see what we could find, and this is north of that original habitat, and we find this Mazatlanensis in flower. And looking for more flowers, Martin suddenly yells, stop, here's this inflorescence. And sure enough, we did find another locality for this plant. And this grows at only 165 feet altitude. So this would make it the westernmost and the lowest growing described species so far. I have a typical Thompsonella flower. Still in the lowlands, Tierra Caliente of Michoacán. This is the Rio Cualcomán. And Quetzalcoatl Kristenii. So he has another philosophy than I do about naming plants. He thinks this is, what stays here when you pass away. That's what, people or reminded of you, and I'm perfectly happy with one. So we didn't find. We went to search for Sedum hintonii, which had been reported near Pinzan, and that should be Pinzan. So we found the local historian in Cualcomán, and he drew us a map how to get there, and we drove all the way into this hinterland, which is not really the best area to venture into. And we didn't find the sedum, but we did find this tiny little Graptopetalum, which also stays there tiny in cultivation. It's compared to Pentandrum, but it's much smaller and different flower color, flower structure and all. And I'm almost done. I know you want to go to have lunch. Another Thompsonella, this is the habitat, that little canyon in the background there. We drove along that road because some students were excavating a dinosaur, which was later named Huehuecanau. I can't say it. It's a hadrosaurid. That was in 2007. There were agaves growing along the road, and so we looked a bit closer, and we did find this little Thompsonella. This little thing, we will be naming it Reyesiana for Jerónimo Reyes at the UNAM. These are plants just after the rainy season, so they're still pretty happy. And that's the flower. Jerónimo Reyes, he's the curator of the botanical gardens of the Biology Institute at the UNAM in Mexico City. And he has described many new species, Crassulaceae species, especially from his native state of Oaxaca. And he just sent us the author copy of 5 new Echeveria species from Oaxaca, which will be in the next Hazeltonia issue. And the last one, Agave salomonii, this is on the hike to get there, Braya Dulcis, really fabulous habitat. That was a 6 to 7 hour hike, depending on how fast you go and how many pictures you take. It's Agave salomonii, named for Salomon Javier Romero. He's from the general area. It was described in 2022 by Greg Starr and compared to Chiapensis and Agave mitis. I went there in 2023 in March, and I did see the flowers. Earlier, if you are an agave aficionado, you might have bought seed under the name Agave magnifica. That's the same thing. So along the way, came across Pherecactus maxidiscus in flower, and that was up there. I spent 2 nights in that orange tent, and I got back with fleas, but it was all good. That's the kitchen and the living room. It was really, I was shocked. I got tested. Well, I went to test myself for some intestinal things, but I didn't get anything. That was really surprising. Mammillaria supertexta growing epiphytically up there. Furcrea longeva, a spectacular plant. And just the views and this habitat up there is just something else. So here, another shot of that, and they called it Magnifica because it has the glaucous underside of the leaves with the imprint. It's just a really spectacular plant. But if you grow it from seed, I mean, mine, they really don't look like that at all. It's kind of disappointing. And this was probably the best plant I did see up there, the one on the right foreground. And that's it.